So this is a joint research project with my two collaborators from Japan, Nampe Kimura and Lin Yupeng. Our research is based on the legal concept of balancing of interest. So specifically, we have looked at the balancing decision between the right to the protection of personal data as stipulated by Article 8 of the EU Charter of Fundamental Rights against access to information as stipulated by Article 11 of the EU Charter of Fundamental Rights. This balancing decision is affected by what we call legal criteria. So, for example, the status of a person. So if we have information from a public figure, the balancing decision would turn towards access to information. While if we have information relating to a private person, and information on the private life of this person, the balancing would turn towards the protection of personal data. This is all based on the case law of the European Court of Justice. And additionally, as some of you might know, the court has stated the so-called right to be forgotten. So it has also introduced time as one of the criteria that can affect the balancing. The idea is that the balancing changes over time. The more the information lies in the past, the more the balancing turns towards privacy or protection of personal data. So what we did is simply we translated these legal criteria into mathematical legal parameters. We also defined the balancing's outcome, U, and used one single parameter to index U. So the idea is that the outcome can have a value between 0 and 1, and you can define a threshold, for example, at 0.5. When the outcome is then lower than 0.5, the balancing decision would turn towards privacy, while if it is higher than 0.5, it would turn towards access to information. This way, we can also model different legal systems that would set the threshold of this balancing at a different point. What we did then is we see this as a linear optimization problem. So we needed data that we could use to fit our function. The data was created by a fully qualified lawyer. And this is an example from our data set. So we used different points in time, alpha t, our parameter for time, as at 0 means that the information just occurred. Alpha t minus 1, it occurred 1 year in the past, and so on and so on. So we have different outcomes for different information throughout the passage of time. And this is also we also related to the legal criteria of the status of the person, alpha p, and the sphere of information, private or public, alpha s. What we then propose is what we call a time-independent mathematical model that takes alpha p and alpha s as input variables, and we fitted the data. This is the table of our fitted coefficients. And as you can see here, these are graphs that illustrate how the outcome of our function relates to our data. The data points are the dots, and the outcome function is the plane that you can see. Another step then that we did was to further develop this into a time-dependent mathematical model that also takes time, alpha t, as an input parameter. We then also used the same data that we created to fit this function. And what we achieved was, as you can see on these graphs, a continuous model for time. So you could use this function to model different points in time. And again, as you can see, the plane relates is the outcome, and the black dots are our data points. Our evaluation shows like the reduced chi-square, and we also did a leave one out cross-validation, shows that our model can represent the data sufficiently. Thank you very much for your interest. The full paper can be found on SSRN. I don't know if we have still time for questions. I try to keep it short. Thank you.